Hello there. I got a bit of commentary for you on the game Wellington's victory, the third scenario, Plancenoit or Plancenoit, French town. Basically, the situation being you're looking here from the advancing Prussians. The scenario starts at 4:30 p.m. and it will end at 9:30 p.m. That's 20 turns. So the Prussians have been advancing along this road from Lasny. This is the Paris word, and Wavre is this way. And the French set up around Frischemont, so essentially on the heights here. Now, there's a couple of things I want to do with this commentary. One is to talk about a situation, because I find it's a fantastic game situation for a tactical Napoleonics. And the other thing is just to encourage anybody with Wellington's victory and has read the reports that there's no one map scenarios. Please, 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 this is a one mapper, and I'm going to show you how. As were the other two that I played, you just have to fold your maps up carefully to get it right. So my camera's on a monkey grip, precariously gripping to my broken camera stand, which was a cheap thing I bought second hand. The top of it broke, so I can't, the mounting for any camera or any other attachment broke, so it's gripping with the monkey grip. It's a bit precarious. We'll see how it goes. But so what you see most of is, and I will pan back in a minute, is maps B and D. So A and C would be further west in that direction, which are the two maps which we saw the other scenarios played on if you viewed those. I'll cut back a bit now so you can see the extent. So I'll take that off because you're getting a lot of reflection from that. So you can see most of. You see in the corner of map D here, you have a combat results table as a terrain key. At the edge, you have the line of sight procedure. You have a record of morale and committed units and a sequence of play. And over here, you have a record of French committed units. And there will be an arming roll for the French on another map. You don't need those for these mini scenarios. You don't need them for the big scenarios. It's just up to you. I record it on paper, committed losses, etc. It just means I don't have to worry about chits and knocking chits around. But so, how is this a one mapper? Well, first, let me take you a bit closer into the terrain. Now you see these rivers running down here. So this is the river Lasny. It goes into Iwiers here. There's some ponds there. It moves down here to Plancenoit there. Was that in shot? No. Plancenoit is there. Now on the other part of the map towards the north, you have the Smoane. There's Owain, the town or village. Smoane comes down here. There's Smoane, the village itself. There's a place called Lié, not Liaisons, but Lié and Papillotte, which may be recognisable. And basically that bit there is the continues on into the ridge from which Wellington is perched. In this scenario, nobody can cross the streams, even at a bridge. So all of the map that you saw and are seeing of it all, you only use this bit here. Now you could sort of come around, because the Smoane ends here, you could come around here, but you won't, because essentially the see those two blocks there, those green ones there, that marks where the Russians are trying to exit. So that essentially they want to exit down this road, which runs all the way straight through. It goes up, there's a higher, goes up on the rise here, higher terrain here, through some obstructed hex size, I suppose hedges and things like that, and then on down there past Plancenoit itself. So that's essentially that the Prussians want to get 30 strength points off there. So that's like a brigade and a half, maybe 2 brigades worth of units off there, and they win the scenario. They come on with the 5th and 2nd Division, and it's a shame I couldn't show you this originally, but essentially they start from here, chock-a-block on the road up to about here. You can see the tail end of the tail there, and then they have a few, I think they have 2 brigades and some cannon here, and their cavalry you set up as you like in whichever order you like. I somewhat foolishly set up so there's some of the 5th Division brigades, 5th Corps brigades here, and the 2nd Corps, and then 5th and 2nd Corps cavalry, and also the accompanying artillery. I somewhat foolishly set up the rest of the 5th Corps infantry, followed by all the cavalry, then the 2nd Corps infantry. So my cavalry was stuck in the middle, and essentially what the French did was they were a bit forward. Their defence was a bit forward, and they brought all their cavalry around here. So they were threatening the breakout from the Paris Woods. The Paris Woods finish about here. You can see that a bit better. And then the French also have sent 1 brigade and some with their artillery and a horse artillery around here, including quite a few skirmishers to block that route there. So and also to kind of you didn't see that I was talking about here, to threaten the flank of, again, the breakout. So the French was threatening the cavalry here and infantry and artillery here as the kind of the bridgehead, if you will, of the Prussians was moving out from the Paris Wood, the road along here. The Prussians are not allowed to move off the road until more or less they get within 10 hexes of a French unit. I've just reached the point, so it's the about to start the 7th turn at 6 p.m. and we've had some Prussian casualties first, and the last turn I just played we had some French and Prussian casualties because the artillery have finally got within range of each other, so we're getting some fire there. So I'm trying to get the right magnification so you can get everything. I think that's it. Yes. So this situation, and so the 2 things. First, I will talk about the situation where I think it's great, and then I'm going to demonstrate why this is only 1 mapper, because at the moment it is taking up a lot of table space, but you can probably understand how it doesn't have to at all. Anyway, yeah, so the situation is a classic because the French have less forces, and in a sense they can fight a fighting withdrawal. They don't really need to just hold, stand or die, because you see these orange cubes, they mark if the Prussians get beyond that point, then some French reinforcements are released, and if the Prussians start exiting units off their side. Okay, my recording cut out. I'm having a problem with SD cards, and because I've been swapping them around to get out of my phone to go on the computer, because YouTube application on the phone has stopped uploading my videos, and it's done that before. I think it's going to be doing it periodically, and it's just, I believe, a matter of time to wait. Well, I wait for an update for the last update, because I think the last update stopped it, and so as before it will just start working again after a while. I presume another update. Anyway, so I've also changed the colour just so you can see between the first part of this video or the last video, if I make this two without editing them together, and this is kind of how the colour is, a medium between what you see now and the previous bit. Anyway, so what was I talking about? I've forgotten. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Okay, so yeah, classic engagement, because you have you have this list. You have a few Prussian units here at start and threatened by initially a larger French force, but then a lot of Prussians coming up. So the Prussians have to break out, and the French have to decide, you know, whether to attack or fall back or defend where they are. So it's a really classic situation, an exciting one to battle. The scenario is lost on if either side morale is reduced to 0, or if the Prussians exit those 30 strength points off that thing. And I've realised that I'm about a third of the way through it now, just over a quarter of the way through it, and I've been too slow with the Prussians. So essentially I sent some of the initial force here, and then the remainder of the initial force kind of here to parry the French cavalry, which were here, to effectively screen the breakout, when I think I should have sent them forward quicker to just to almost sacrifice that initial division to punch a hole through, or at least begin breaking a hole through the French for the rest of them to come through. And that my caution might have been down to, I think it was my fault. I should have put all of the these are Prussian cavalry, and they've got a lot more than French. They should have been at the front of the column, so they should have arrived a lot quicker. The Prussians are slow moving. Their infantry have 3 movement points and 2 when they're in line. The French are on 4 and 3, and the cavalry on both sides are always 6. So the Prussian infantry slowed the cavalry down a lot, and they could have been brought on, pushed the French cavalry back sooner, and then the beachhead wouldn't have been so necessary to cover the breakout. The beachhead that could have moved inland, as it were. You follow my metaphor. Yeah, so it is that classic scenario where a smaller defender, bigger attacker, but he has to build up and come on, and then the defender falls back, and then reinforcements are available. It's exciting. So I don't really have anything more interesting to say about that for now, so I better go on to the mappageness. So just to remind you, this is the extent of the map, and these are the rivers in which the scenario takes place. So instantly you can see you have a map fold here, you can fold that back, and you have another map fold here, you can fold that back. This combat results table is, I think it's repeated again on one of the other maps, and or if not, but anyway, you have it twice on the player aid, so it's not necessary there at all. And the terrain effects chart isn't necessary. It doesn't tell you anything except what the terrain is, and it's all very simple because everything's basically 1 movement point or 2, and the combat effects, it's all quite simple, so you don't need a great big reminder for that. So what I'm going to do is show you this before and then after. That's the before and then the after. I just thought it might be interesting to see what I was doing, because this was, I have some plexi down. I actually have plexi here and here, and these are little bits. Ones here and there weren't necessary, so I've moved them off on the plexi. I'm moving these other fellows off on the plexi. That's why I'm able to do this instant before and after show without ruining the game. So some people I know are very precious, daisy, with their maps, especially people that, I don't know, aren't sure about a game, might want to sell it on and so forth. But most of my games I play them once, and if I think it's not for me, then I sell it on. If I think it is for me, even as I'm reading it, I will start making of the materials what I will. So I don't mind backfolding this, because I know I'm not going to play it 20 times. I don't have enough life for that, unfortunately. So it's not going to run out, it's not going to wear out in my lifetime. Okay, so essentially that is what we can do. And if you see, you say, yes, but look, you've lost some of the terrain here. So we lost all this bit of terrain, but if you remember, the Prussians have to stick to this road until they're within 10 hexes of the French. And unless the French come all the way up to here at the beginning, which is highly likely, they could possibly come up to here with some cavalry charges. 10 hexes is there, so they might start moving off there, at which point their destination is there. So you've still got enough. You don't need that bit there. And so that's a handy edge. And then likewise, although the game setup starts here, so you could do what I've done. You know, you use Plex and you start with the setup, you move them, and after a few turns then you can fold this back. Or essentially all you have to do is record how many hexes is there, and because the top of your column of troops is going to be about here at the start, you just move that and bring on the others as they come on. And just a quick shout out to anyone who has played this scenario of this. It says in the setup instructions that you will need all the hexes that you are given, because it says, you know, start from whatever hex, that one, to there. You will need all the hexes, and to very carefully follow the stacking rules to get all of the units on. Now I found that I needed 3 more hexes, so I don't know what I was doing wrong, if I got more units than I should have if I wasn't stacking them properly. But anyway, either way, you just have to check how many hexes how many stacks do you have, and then the stacks just follow each other one after another. So as the head of your column moves, you can just bring the tail on. You don't have to, otherwise, you know, you are just sort of shuffling the tail needlessly, as it does nothing but follow the head. So you can even do that, which I'm going to do, because look at that. And I'm going to do because it gives you this wonderful, essentially the size of a 1 mapper, even though it's 2 maps. And B, because if you have this, and as I had it set out before, the action's taking place here. So I was sort of leaning over to get to it. And I did like doing it from the Prussian point of view, so as they came on this direction, but this way, I think I might keep it the Prussian point of view, but I could, for example, change it. Let me see, it could be from the French point of view. In fact, I might even be able to fit this on my Lazy Susan, and then I can rotate it. We will see. So essentially, that is all you need for the scenario. The Prussians are coming out of the wood here. They're not going to be doing anything before here. Nobody can go past this line, and they're aiming for that area. This is the natural edge of the scenario, so you're not really going to get fighting up there either. So essentially this is the area of the scenario. You could, at a pinch, even do that. It might be a bit restricted. Might be a bit restricted for the Prussians who want to move back here. Here's a counter just so you can see the size of that map. Very handy, manageable. So the Prussians might want to do a bit, because I've got the French set up around here blocking. So the Prussians might want to try and manoeuvre around there, so you might want that space. Chances are there, I think it's not going to happen. I'm going to keep it just in case. But yeah, otherwise, none of this is needed, and none of this will be used. If the Prussians are routing back here, they're in terrible trouble. But I won't say you might as well call the game, because I might get in that situation. So that's how it goes. So here's my one mapper board. Standard map. I can't remember how many inches they vary a bit, don't they, depending on the game company and design and so forth. Essentially that will be it, and I will put my bits and bobs back on. Here it comes. Portable instant battle. Oh, I got it. Wrong way around. So okay. So my plex is actually too long for this. Where was it? There we go. So that was along that edge. You don't need to see me do this. voila, and that's how I changed a great big 2 mapper to this mini 1 mapper. I should have put the plexiglass over this side because see I've got bending up there. Don't need that side so much, so I just need that now, but once we're past that stream there I won't need it. French have retreated, so these ones will be moving up anyway. And I just need to check the coordinates of these cubes are good to go. Okay, my lazy Susan. Can be a bit awkward on an oblong thing, but just place it right. It comes out perfect. So there's the French view. You see this because this plexi board is twice the thickness of this one. So this one I like. Sometimes just plonk it in the centre of the map to hold it down or to hold map pieces together. It doesn't move about and it holds, you know, big folds and that. These small ones I tend to use for small maps or for little pieces like here. I don't really need it, I could take it off, but I'm going to keep it for now just because of that pooching there. But as I say, don't need that part of the map because we're going to be heading this way probably. Yeah, I'm going to leave it off. So there we go. I can't remember where they go, something like this. Oops. So looking there from the south. Might look a bit difficult here to distinguish the French from the Prussians, but it's not really. That was a Prussian disrupted marker when it should have been a French one. So where was it? I think it was there, wasn't it? Yes. It's actually not difficult. You see they're different enough in colour, so as to make this meeting fun. And it's going to bang my camera again. So again, there we are from the Prussian viewpoint.